What does Stellinga mean? Let's find out. Stellinga. Well, Stellinga is a word we find in Latin sources regarding the ninth century, regarding a group of people among Old Saxons. And by Old Saxons, we're talking about continental Saxons here. In brief, the Stellinga were a culmination of two classes of people within Saxon society, such as the freelings, the free people, and the well, I would we learned from Nithard that these people that the latter group is called I'll give his word that he gave Latsi or Lassi, when really in Old Saxon it would have been something like lat, and these are like, from what I've learned from this word, it depending on the context, it could mean free, but also not free, but like kind of half free. If you anyway, so Stellinga. So what happened was the Athelings, the nobles, so to speak, they sided with the conquering Franks, and so the Stellinga are like kind of like resistance to that, because the Stellinga wanted to live in accordance with the way things were before the Franks came, and this would include practicing, pre-Christian Saxon spirituality. But before we dive right into that, so we have that premise. Where is it attested? Well, it's attested in two sources, among other sources as well. But for sake of simplicity, we're going to look at Nithard's histories, Liber 4, also the Annales Bertiniani, Auctore Prudentio. That's a mouthful of itself, but let's move right on. So we have here, I'm not going to read the Latin, whereupon being exceedingly covetous, they imposed a new name on themselves, that is, Stellinga. And being gathered into one, the lords, almost driving them out of the kingdom, lived according to the ancient custom, according to which everyone wanted according to the law. However, I do have to say that this translation is from Google, because I'm not a Latin expert whatsoever. So for those of you who know Latin very well, please forgive me. But so what we know already from this word is that, okay, so we know that this is a name given on this primary source. We know that the Stellinga is to describe a group of people. So that is already telling of itself. Right? So moving on. Then we have from the Annales Bertiniani, Auctore Prudentio, we have here Lothartius, turning his back and reaching Aquasgrani, endeavored to win the Saxons and the rest of the frontiers by the grace of restoring the battle, in so far as he granted to the Saxons, who are called Stellinga, of whom there is great in number in their nation, the option of whatever law or ancient custom of the Saxons they preferred. Who always inclined to okay, you got to bear in mind, a lot of these Frankish sources, they are filled with Abrahamist propaganda. Of course, they will demonize the Saxons because they're conquering them, right? And of course, these Frankish annals, and these Frankish historians, they want to puff themselves up and make themselves look good, and like, oh yeah, we're the good guys, they're the bad guys. So, anyway, where was I? Great number in their nation, the option. Who always inclined to evil, chose to imitate the rites of the heathen rather than to observe the sacraments of the Christian faith. Yep. So, point is that Stellinga is attested here. So we have two sources that's saying, okay, well, I confirm that, okay, well, this is a name of a group. So from that, we can dive right into what the word actually means, literally, right? So the second half, knowing that it's a name of a group, we know that it's a noun, right? And due to the ending there, that a there, we can already know that it's a plural noun, because it's like, because thing is, the way you describe people back in these days would be like the Saxons, or the blank but plural. That's how you'd have names of countries back then, names of tribes of where they lived and whatnot. It'd be like where those people lived, so to speak. So it would be like the Saxons, the Frisians, the this and that. Similarly, you would have the Stellinga. So, and assuming this is plural, because it's describing a group of people, given its form, it's likely High German or Old Saxon, or just West Germanic of that time, one could say. Because the thing is, the further you go back in time, the more similar languages were, especially of the same language family. Going further, there due to the interactions with the Old Saxon, and High Frankish interaction, you do see High German Frankishisms in Old Saxon words, which in a much later video I'll go into better detail about this. But given the nature of who's writing these histories, it's likely that this is a High German word, because in my previous video about Nithard and his words Edeling, Freeling, and Lassie, that him being a Frank, was writing the so-called Saxon words in his own way, so to speak, in his own Frankish way. So if I were to name what this would be, it'd be High German, or really High Frankish, to be very specific. But this form of the word can also be Old Saxon, but we'll get into why. So we have the singular form would be Stelling, and the plural form would be Stellinga. To go even further, due to that its nature of the ing, so to speak, we can then assume that this would be declined as an a stem, like the word Kuning. Kuning. So then, if it's Old High German, the word in question would be declined as follows. So from the singular, starting at the singular, so the nominative accusative Stelling, the genitive would be Stellinges or Stellingas, the dative would be Stellinge, Stellinga, the instrumental would be Stellingu, Stellingo, and the plural form would be Stellinga, Stellinga. For nominative and accusative, the plural genitive would be Stellingo. Plural dative would be Stellingum, Stellingom, Stellingun, Stellingum. Stellingum, Stellingun, Stellingon. Declined like a stem, like Kuning. But if it was Old Saxon, here's where it gets interesting. In the singular, we have Stelling, more or less the same forms as we have in the Old High German. But interestingly, in the plural, we have Stellingos, Stellingas, and we have Stellinga. So this tells us, okay, so this could be a candidate for, this could very well be an Old Saxon word. So, and then we moving on, we have Stellingo, Stellingum, Stellingun, Stellingon. Pretty much, that's that. Moving on. But the first part, what does this mean? Stell. The word stell at this time can mean a number of things. So in Old High German, we got stellen, which means to put, to institute. We got stellion in Old Saxon, to place. And then we have in Middle Saxon, or that's a term that I like to use, as opposed to saying Middle Low German or Middle Low Saxon and Stellinge. well, it means a bunch of things, but the most related meaning what we have is position. So that's something to bear in mind, that like of like you have to compare words, several words, to really get to ascertain, to really try to get the meaning of like what the root of the word is trying to convey. And we also got to bear in mind historical context as well as we move on to the conclusion. So we know that Stellinga is in the plural, that it's describing a group of people, and this is not just any people. These are Saxons, specifically standing against the new transition in the regime that's going on. They want the old ways. They want to go back to the old customs, have their old practices. So if we were to translate this literally, my best way of trying to convey that would be those who are positioned or placed or firm, or because thing is, there are many ways to translate this, and given the context of when this word was used, and there are many translations. You can translate this in many ways, actually, but to be very firm to the bare bones of what this actually means, because I've seen some sites say, oh, it means comrades, oh, it means companions, oh, it means children of the old ways, or the old, I don't know. So, these are not wrong. By extension, it could mean those things depending on the very specific context. But if we were to go very, very, very literal, my best attempt and trying to unpack this mystery word would be those who are positioned, or those who are positioned, or those who are placed, and in what context, like firm in place of, let's say, the old ways, the old customs, the old pre-Christian ways, stuff like that. So that's pretty much it for this video. Anyway, guys, thank you for watching. I had fun making this video. Please subscribe if you really like the channel, and if you really, really like the channel, please become a patron at my Patreon page down below. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.